it tells me.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Crazy. That's cool. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Skill Riders Podcast. This is episode number 164. I'm your host, 65 Lokes. I'm here with my guest, the homie Kasey, all the way from Australia. Most of you guys know him on Instagram as Slowly's Models. And I mean, killing it in the 3D game. But man, it's been years since we've had you on the show. But you know, me and you, we talk like daily, all the time.
Yeah, it's been a bit since the first one, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe that's why we haven't done an episode, because we're always just like messaging and
Yeah.
on the chat. So I don't know, man, but it's cool though, because this is kind of like a different take. Most of the time I'm following a guest and I'm like, all right, I'm gathering up all this intel questions, things to ask. But it's like, both of us already know kind of like where we're at with things and like kind of like the goals and direction where we want to go. But
yeah,
right now there's something very exciting going on in Japan. And I wanted to ask you, Kasey, what's your take right now? Right now in Japan, it's the Shizuoka Hobby Show 2022, and Aoshima's been posting content with their releases. But what's your take, like impressions of seeing what they've been posting?
their Lamborghini stuff looks really good. Really, really good. They have that layout of like 8 Lamborghinis, and then they have the LB Works ones, and they have that brand new one, and it looks really good. Like for a pre-production model, it like looks way more aggressive than like the first one. The first one, it's kind of all like slick and super low down. This one's like in your face, and it looks really good. I'm like the R32 as well. I think it's like a Kansai house or something like that. That one looks awesome. That's another one that stuck out to me. And the Laurel, it's the 2-tone silver and blue one that you've seen. It's like a pillarless car, so it's got no B pillar. That one looks really good as well. And of course, all their 164 stuff always looks cool.
Yeah,
always.
That's tight. Yeah, from seeing like you said, the layout, right? You see all the Lambos Liberty Walk just chilling, and going back to the first version that they dropped, you see it and you're like, man, this is dope, right? And then later they start promoting version 2. And you're like, oh wow, it's starting to look a little more aggressive. And then each one after that starts to become more aggressive. And then this one, with the one that they hit us with, it's like I saw I was zooming in on the little display and it says 2023, like the release. So
right. Yep.
I was like, oh damn, we're not gonna get that, till next year. But man,
they're just teasing us.
Yeah, that one, it's like they pulled out everything. Like the machine guns are on that one,
Yeah. It's like
crazy.
really
I was even
on
telling you, like, yo, like, what is that? Is that Lamborghini or what? Because it looked different.
It's what is the name of the ones we have? The first LB Works Lambos, are they a Murcielago?
I think they're the Huracan.
That's no, I think it's an Aventador, isn't it?
Aventador, yeah.
Yeah, and so that one would be like the next level up of Lamborghini, I think. I'm not totally sure on like the different models because they all look really cool.
Yeah, they look dope. I have never built like an exotic car or anything like that. I would see people do them, but it never really interested me until I started to see the Liberty Walk ones with the wide body. I was like, whoa, this is different. And then I started to see more and more videos on YouTube, with the cars, the real 101 scale cars. Yeah. And I mean, man, they look so mean and aggressive and slick and aerodynamic that I was like, yo, like this is getting me excited, to build one.
Yeah, they got some really cool ones over there. There's like a crew of dudes who just like, they must be pretty well off that they like modify the hell out of their Lamborghinis with like lights and like big chrome like exhausts and stuff. Like, they just go nuts. They go crazy. They have like the little projectors on the bottom of the lights doors when you open it up.
Yeah.
And it shines the logo onto the ground and stuff like that. It's a really cool scene. Super cool.
Yeah, I just trip out whenever I come across videos on YouTube with you know, car enthusiasts in Japan, and I just feel like, man, what do these guys do for a living? Because they're just like dropping ends on their cars, and the cars look dope, and but they go beyond, beyond like I know for here, there's people that are car enthusiasts and they fix them up and everything, but then they reach like a limit, right? A point where they're satisfied with the way it looks, and they kind of rock that for like maybe the next like 2 or 3 or 5 years until something happens, until there's damage on the car. And
Yeah.
then they're either going to commit or they're out. They're like, that's it. This car's done. But over,
Yeah.
but over here, it seems like they keep pushing and pushing and more and more. And it's like never ending.
Yeah, it's like they keep adding things until like they get to a point where they'll start all over again because all the new trends have caught up. So
Mhm.
they'll start again with like the different paint and bodywork and stuff like that. But yeah, some of these guys like I could imagine the wide bodies aren't all that cheap to put on a Lamborghini.
Mm.
Like a 1/1 scale one. But yeah, like they're serious about it, like having a good time. It's like
Yeah.
really obvious.
Yeah, that's a trip. Like, I wonder if a lot of these guys, like the Liberty Walk, the owner, and the guy from RWB, like I wonder if these cats, or even the that crew of like Midnight that you showed me, I wonder if these cats have known each other since when they were young, like when they were getting into the scenes, and now as adults, I wonder if a lot of these dudes kind of ran into each other or something. I mean, now for sure they're very aware of who's who or who's the owners of what, but I always wonder about that, like what was the past, if there was any interactions.
Yeah, there's like everything you see, like all the crews in like in those kind of car scenes. There's probably like decades of history between those people, and like only when we see it like as Westerners, we just see like all this crazy stuff that they're doing right now, and we're not aware of like the last like 30 or 40 years of like shenanigans that they've been up to reach that point of like craziness, in their cars.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I can imagine like if they're making waves like these days all over the world, I can only imagine what they were doing there for the like since the 70s and 80s. I can imagine there's lots of fun stuff to like figure out, that they've
Yeah.
been up to.
Yeah, that Midnight little mini documentary or whatever it was, dude, that was awesome.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like such a dense history, and like the best part is like chances are we'll never know the truth. We'll never know like the whole story, but
Mhm.
we get to like imagine what happened, and it's crazy. Like a legal street racing scene, like you know influenced like the media over there, like the anime and manga and stuff like that. And like it's you kind of get the same thing over here, like Smokey and the Bandit and stuff. They were there's movies and stuff about them, and I feel like there's like a Japanese version of all of these kind of awesome things, and we're just playing catch up. When we hear about the little bits, and it would have been so cool to be there and like see these guys racing there, like insane for the time and still pretty insane like cars for these days down the highways and stuff and getting into all sorts of trouble.
Yeah. And it's like Fujimi had a line that they put out with how many, I know you had shown me earlier today of the box art of one, and we've already seen another one. I think I've only seen like three of them that I've come across. Like, not, I haven't even come across them in person, but I've seen them online.
The or the Wangan Midnight ones, was that
Hmm.
the blue Fair Lady Z? I think it might have been like that I showed you a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then
but
that Porsche.
the one, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, the Porsche, yes, of course. Yeah, so like apparently in the manga and the movies and stuff, like the real dude's Porsche, um, inspired, the movies and the comics and stuff like that. And so you work your way down the line of like featuring this car in media, and it gets to a model kit, And it's like everyone knows that it's supposed to represent this dude, but it's not like explicitly said. That it's like like it's like that famous like dark colored Porsche. In the TV show about racing on the highway. There's not many other people it could be. And but the one I showed you yesterday, yeah, that was really fun. I spent like a couple hours like trying to find out the exact info on that. And it's a race driver who wanted to build the ultimate Corolla 11, like sort of like the initial D car. And he built it, and he was part of a crew of like just other race drivers that would muck around. And when I saw the box art, I thought, that's pretty weird for a Fujimi kit to have like a photograph of a car, because it was that magazine style nighttime flash photography,
Yeah, I was gonna say that,
car.
And it was at nighttime too.
Yeah. And it's there's an option video of like the Option magazine out of Japan. They did videos and stuff, and there was one where I think that guy who owned that specific car was racing the Tsuchiya guy, the super duper OG like Drift King sort of dude. And there's so much to decode, and like because you got to watch it with the subtitles along the bottom, the auto generated ones. So you're never going to get the full story because but yeah, there's just so much like history beyond just the models that we see. It's really cool to research and like look for the kind of underground sort of scene around them. It's like no wonder they're still doing this kind of stuff these days, because it would have been such a cultural hit, with like cars in media and stuff like that.
Man, I wonder. I mean, man, it would be crazy if like Aoshima took over the Midnight, the theme, and just ran with it, and just revamped, like come out with those versions. But I mean, I wonder how long Fujimi has these contracts, maybe, or who knows, maybe there's no contract. It's just kind of a twist. And Aoshima has they do the Initial D line, and it looks cool. I mean, when I look at Initial D and I look at that box art, all anime and everything, I don't know, for some reason I just have this connection. I connect it to like something to do with Gundam, even though it has nothing to do with it. But it's just, I like the box art enough where I'm like, I want to stare at it, have it on my wall or up on something, and just the way they have the action motion scene of the car, it just makes it look like it's going fast, right?
Yeah, they do some awesome box art on those. Absolutely.
Nah, they do. And then they also have a 132 scale versions of those. And on some of those, the box art's it's different from the 124 scale one. So when you see that little box art, you go, man, this is a cute little box.
Yeah. It'd be easy to like put on a shelf and have them all lined up instead of like the big 24 scale ones.
No, yeah. I still remember like those first times I started getting the Initial D into the store. And I remember, I mean, I wasn't too sure. I was like, all right, I'll get like a couple copies, just to test the water, see what's up. But then later I was just like, why am I hesitating? I need to go in. So I started ordering at least like 6 copies or 5. That was like my max, right? And they would just be chilling there for a minute, and then all of a sudden, customer would order like 1 of each. And I was like excited packing this for him.
Yeah.
Being like, dude, like this is cool. Like you're getting like all the ones I have in the store, and these are all the ones I could get from my distributor, And I just thought it was like, oh, this is tight. And I remember vending at a show once, and I brought model kits, and I remember bringing an Initial D kit, and everybody who walked up to look at the tools and everything, they would always gravitate to it. Or they would, or I would hear them say, "Oh man, they have Initial D," and they'll jump on the phone and call their friend and be like, "Hey, they got this kit," or they'll take photos of it, or they'll ask me, "Is it cool if I could open it?" To see. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. You know, I think they thought it was like a used kit or something. I'm like, nah, dude, it's a new kit. Cause out here, those kits aren't sealed like in plastic. You know, they're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
wrapped. So I guess it just gave that assumption like, oh, you know, it must be a used kit. But everything is in bags and everything's sealed. But yeah, I mean, later, you know, people are whatever copy I had of it, someone bought it. But it was just one of those that I was like, holy, like, damn, this is cool. You know, people are there's a fan base for sure out there for this.
yeah, yeah. And it's becoming like a lot more popular. I feel over the last few years of like a new generation of like people getting interested, like in like the JDM stuff, and like Initial D is like a starting point for like Japanese media of their car scene. It's a fun story, and it's cool to watch the show of it. I think I got like 40 out of 60 episodes in, and it's
Man.
just like, wow, I made this like small change to my car, and I gained a second going down here. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And like you said, the person buying one of each that you had, it's like you got to imagine that they've just got into like either model building and like JDM Initial D like style cars and that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
they just went, oh, I need them just for the box art, for the kits, for everything.
Hmm.
Because there's such like it is good art, like on the covers of them, and it'd be really cool to have them like stuck up on the wall. And I think I have a couple of, I don't know the brand of them, it might be Aoshima or Fujimi, but when you open the Initial D kit, they like stapled little cardboard cutouts of the characters like drawn from the comic, so you could have them next to your
Oh,
model after you built it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I can't remember the brand of them, but it was the same sort of thing. They had cool box art on the kits, and it just adds to that kind of allure of it. It feels
Yeah.
familiar if you've seen the show or the comics.
Oh man, that's cool, man. Yeah, I mean there's all these like fun little things, you know. And you know, going back to the show, you know, we obviously like we follow Aoshima's Instagram page, and I follow him on Twitter, you know, but and also Facebook. But from all platforms, Instagram seems to be like the one where they're most active posting. They're posting everywhere else too, but I feel like there's more of an interaction, right, with the community through there. And you know, just recently launching their ambassador program, and
Yeah,
they're
yep,
there at the show right now. I mean, along with you know tons of companies too. You know, there's all the major companies are there. Tamiya's there, um, God Hand. You got tool companies. You got like everybody there, right? But at the same Korobuki, but at the same time, it's like what companies are actually like in the scene connecting with the people, like interacting, showing. I started to look around before the recording, you know, trying to look up content from the show. And I just keep seeing the same content from other people saying like the show, it's on this date, da 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 da. But I'm not seeing what I want to see, you know? And like so far, Aoshima's been the one like in the lead so far that I'm seeing something that I want to see, that I'm like, oh man. And then they're asking everybody, like, what do you guys want me to show you? You know?
yeah, yeah. I
So
saw that on their story thing. Yeah,
yeah, so that's cool. Like interaction and kind of giving you that vibe, making you feel like you're there, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's giving you an opportunity to like have some input about like what you want to see up close, and
Hmm.
they were posting the like close up pictures of what people asked for. I think someone asked for the to see the Zonda up close. I think it's a red one.
Yeah,
That just looks like such an amazing build. Whoever built that is got to be like a model master over there or something.
I
But
know, right?
and then they posted up the like the close up pictures for us to look at, and
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not seeing much else either. I know like Tamiya is so varied in what they do. They do like the motorized cars, and like I think they do some military as well. And so like it was kind of spread out above all those topics, and like Aoshima is mostly just, no, we're doing the cars. The cars are here, and that's like what you and me want to see, I suppose. Is just the
No,
cars,
yeah. And
because they're doing a good job.
no, they are. And they're also expanding their 132 scale line. Like they're coming out with so much stuff. You know, I the one time that I was in Japan, there was these other, I can't even remember what brand. I gotta pull these out to show you. But they were a 132 scale brand. But I remember in the seeing the shelves, and there was just a bunch of them, like so many of them. I mean, they had the 124 scale stuff, but in the same car section, they had this whole 132 scale section, right? And I mean, like in Japan and probably other places around the world, like people are into different scales, and but right there, I was just like, wow, like this is a lot. Here in the States, you don't really see too much 132 scale at all. Like made from, like Revell, made from,
Yeah,
like you just don't see AMT, you just don't see it at all. It's just it's kind of a rare thing or whatever. And if it's one, it's like one that's super old or something, right? But to be creating something new right now, it almost seems like it's a risk to even produce that. But they keep coming out with 132, and I'm like, yo, like, I mean, it's cool. I'm starting to pick up a lot for my store too, the 132 stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like once the line expands, like even more, it's just gonna take until someone says, I like the way that car looks and it's smaller, I'm gonna buy it. And then next thing you know, it's like, now I want to get this one, I want to get that one. It
yeah,
just opens up the floodgates at that point.
yeah. And they're great for entry level stuff too, because like the price point's lower and you can take that risk. Like if you're not sure about getting into model building, and I think some of them, like, is it all of them or some of their 32s don't need glue and paint?
Yeah, so from what I've learned and from what I've seen in videos is the 132 scale line is like to promote like modelism to kids, to get them into car modeling. And it's the
Yeah,
same, it's an entry level car. It's the same as like getting into Gundam, like those first early versions where you just pop the items off the sprue and you snap it together. It's like a snap kit. The kit's already painted, and you just put it together, and you could just put this car on your shelf, and it'll motivate you to start to get more into modeling. But then again, for the experienced modeler now, they get this in their hands. It's small, it's tiny, it looks attractive. It's gonna make them want to do their take on it, sand it, paint it, whatever, and then just snap it together. And now they got a smaller version of one of their favorite cars. But I did see videos where there had been like an event and there were kids and they were giving them those kits, the 132 scale, and they were just putting
yeah,
it together, and I thought that's such a good way to get kids motivated into it, because I mean, I know for sure, that they do, like Revell has the snap kits and things like that. But over here, you're getting like cars that you're into, You're getting
yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
really cool cars, a GTR, like something that's like super cool that you would want to definitely put together.
Yeah, and they look like, even from a perspective like someone with experience, like if they're looking for a challenge, maybe they can detail up and, scribe out all the lines and stuff and maybe put an engine in a 32 scale or something like that. But you're
Man,
right, for the like build days for kids, it's like the perfect way to, because they get to sit around a table and like, talk to each other and get help if they need it and stuff
yeah,
like that. And like, yeah, I've seen some of those in the States as well. I think like with the Revell, I think it was a Mustang, and the Audi R8, I think, is their other snapper. And the variety that is coming out, like we've never seen like, snap kits of like JDM stuff. So like the 32 scale, it's like, it's a whole new genre of like stuff available to us to explore and that kind of thing. I don't think I'll be doing any like 32 scale prints because that's getting a bit small for me.
hmm
But yeah, no, they look like just a great like jumping off point.
yeah,
And the people that start off with them will probably, want to do the whole range.
yeah.
It's like a collecting thing, and they'll
No,
end
it
up with a
is.
wall of like 32 scale ones.
Yeah, I feel like once you crack one open, you put it together, you're gonna definitely want to go on to the next. And I mean, that's definitely a good one to consider also for like an event. Imagine having an event where you invite like people and then you do like a contest, let's say. And in this contest, let's say it's like a raffle, right? You raffle off like 20 tickets or not 20 tickets. Let's just say there's 50 people, but you need 20 people out of the 50. So you do this event, boom, you do your picks, like raffle style, they get selected. All right, guys, you guys are all gonna sit right here in these tables, and everyone gets a free 132 scale kit. And you have like basically, let's say like I don't know, 10 minutes to build it or something. It's a snap kit, so it's gonna be for fun. Like whoever can build it the fastest is gonna get a grand prize, you know. And it could be a kid, it could be an adult, it could be anybody, you know. And then whoever wins, bam, here you get like the collection of 132 scale. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be like well, you don't really see like much of that stuff like at events and things like, little like competitions there, like stuff like that. Model building itself seems to be like actually doing it is like a fairly solitary activity. You sit there at your bench alone. So having like a fun, like a hot dog eating contest, but for models, and like you build them and don't eat them, would be really cool to see. That'd probably be pretty funny to watch everyone like scrambling with the parts and stuff like that.
Yeah, like you gotta be fast. Like you got a small amount of time, and it's just seeing everyone go like quick. And for sure, out of everybody, there's gonna be one person that's gonna win. One person is gonna get it. I'm already imagining like 3 rows of tables, and then having like chaperone, like people standing with like a little pallet with a number. So whoever wins, they just pull up their hand like, this dude won right here.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Hell yeah.
That'd be super crazy. But yeah, I mean, we still have the weekend of more coverage to come. I mean, I think in Japan they're probably jumping into their second day now. From my understanding, the first couple of days it's more like a corporate thing, companies, invitees, like maybe their distributors are there and whatnot. And then I believe the weekend, the Saturday and the Sunday, or maybe Friday, it's open to the public, and it's a free event. And I'm hoping that they sell merch, because I know that if next year I make the trip and I'm out there for this, I for sure want to buy some stuff. So
yeah, just run past the merch tables and clean them out.
Yeah, because I'd be sad if they're like, oh no, nothing's for sale. Like you can't buy anything. It's like, oh, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's NFTs. Like you got Bitcoin, like you gotta buy all this stuff with this now. We're like, what? I got cash. Oh no. There's a machine over there. Toss money in there and then come back. Get your tokens.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah, that'd be sorry, man. I'll be like, man, what are we in the carnival or something?
You gotta buy like Aoshima bucks out of the machine to spend at the table.
Dang. So all this time, that has passed, like, how's your collection have growing? As far as like kits, the things of that sort. Because right behind you, I see the array of kits that you got there, and you got some really nice, cool stuff and hard to find stuff too.
It's the kit collection keeps growing. I'm not really buying all that many. Like, I'm still buying them because we're model builders. That's what we do. But it keeps growing really fast because I don't finish anything. So I have all these kits here in various stages of like collection. But like, I kind of like just standing there and like imagining builds for each of them.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of like the process that I love to do, but it's going pretty quick. I like set these up like, as a backsplash.
Yeah.
Because this is usually where the laptop is. But I picked up the AMT 58 arrived today.
Oh, wow.
Because I saw Gavin's build, his green one.
Yeah.
I think it is, of a 58. And it was at the show he attended that you're at with him.
I saw it open.
Yeah. And I saw someone post a picture of that, and I'm like, that's gorgeous. I need to do one of those. And like, I just jumped on eBay, and that was the only one I could find. You know,
Yeah,
and
that's dope.
the Revell one was like $100, Australian.
Mhm.
So I'm like, no, I'll go with like, you know, the cheaper version.
Yeah, I
But
mean the 58 AMT kit, that for me it's like a personal favorite just because it was one of those kits that was when I was getting into modeling, it was available. You know,
yeah, 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 yeah,
as much as I wanted to have like a 63 Impala, which I never saw that as a kid, you know,
yeah,
available at a store. All I would see was a 58, the 59, and you know, the 64s, and then later the 65s. But you know, starting off, you know, 58 was one of my favorites that I remember working on, putting together, and just admiring the whole thing, you know. And it was funny because I still remember like just painting it and not knowing about bare metal foil, not knowing about none of
yeah,
that, right?
yeah,
So it was the whole car was just like one color. So
yeah, yep. That's the same with me, except it was the. I don't think I have one up here. It's the AMT 51 Chevy.
mhm.
When I first started out, they were on sale for like $14. So I'm like, ooh, and I was like working my first job, and you know, and I kind of stocked up on like 3 of those, and I bought 3 of the, was it Revell, the Testarossa, the Miami Vice one. That I think it's a Testarossa. They were also on sale, but like though that one I haven't found another version of yet. But the 65 was a replacement for the first 65 I had. It was
Mhm.
the one with the lowrider box art, and you know, I did the same thing. I didn't know like it was bare metal foil, so I was using like automotive paint and just painting it all one color and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But like now I'm kind of up to the point I'm like replacing kits that I messed up in the past, and like um, exploring what's cheap and available here at the moment, like the bugs that I've been working on. It's Tamiya one. They're really good kits. If you see them, I would definitely recommend them. But other than that, it's just kind of like that one I got just for the box art because I love it's the Aoshima Silica, the Grachan one, the red one.
Mhm.
I bought that just so I could scan the box art and have like a big picture made for my wall.
Yeah.
Because oh, it's such cool box art. It's
It
like
is.
it's got like, you know, the one eye open is like
Yeah,
blinking.
I was gonna say that it almost looks like it's like blinking, right? Like one eye
Yeah,
open. Like, it looks
yeah,
super
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Yep. But now it's just kind of like exploring new things. I'm like kind of, you know how we go through the phases of like JDM or you know USDM lowriders and stuff like that, and it's kind of you move like along to things like new genres that you know you want to get into.
Yeah.
And I've been speaking to I can't remember their username, but they live in Puerto Rico, and they do the craziest like chimneys. I think they're called samurais in the states, and they get those things and like gut them and put stupid powerful rotaries and like Honda engines in them and make like drag cars out of them.
Oh
And
wow.
and they do the same thing with like the 86s. They're like making drag versions of them, and you know, to me, I've always imagined them as like, you know, drift cars, but to
Mhm.
see them as something different, that's definitely something I want to explore. So I had to get a fresh kit to do that. You know, I can't rebuild one, or like, you know, I can't finish any of the you know bunch I have lying around.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's growing.
That's pretty
It's
cool. That's yeah, because it's I like how you display them there because you know it's still even though they're in different stages, there's still inspiration there. You know, like when you
yeah,
see them, it's just the time, if anything. You know, having that time to continue them. Like I have a box that's full of kits that are in different stages, and you know, at some point before I put those in that box, I had them all just kind of grouped together in my closet and but the problem I had was I had them kind of intertwined mixed. The ones that are I'm still feeling that I like mixed in with those ones that are like that thorn on your side, you know, like
yeah,
what
yeah,
Snacks had said on a previous podcast. It's
yeah,
like those ones that you're like, ah, like they're there, they're bothering you. you know?
Mhm.
So I had to like separate, I had to go through everything and be like, all right, these are the ones that I honestly don't feel like I'm ever gonna revisit. These I'm for sure, and I'm just gonna put these away in this box and tuck them away, and later I'll open them back up and I'll be like, back on it. But this stack right here, that's it. I'm gonna most likely sell it at a show or something. For you, do you feel that way sometimes? Like there's certain ones that you don't want to look at. Maybe you push the box a little further and you put a new one in front of it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I've done. On the other side of this, these
Yeah.
ones are double stacked up the top.
Hmm.
And so the ones over here in the corner are the ones I kind of like have just pushed to the side, forget about. They're just there for decor.
Hmm.
But yeah, exactly. I've got like, old projects I was super into and they just kind of peter out for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Um, Probably because I keep a bunch of kits near me and I'm always looking at them, go, oh, I'll pull that out and I'll do a bit of that. That
Yeah.
because there's always a distraction. But yeah, I've got plenty of like builds that are like fairly close to being done, but
Hmm.
I don't want to do them if I'm not feeling it because they won't turn out the way I like. They'll just
Yeah.
be done to be done, and
Hmm.
I'd rather leave it till I'm like super duper feeling it,
Yeah.
and then because I'll actually enjoy the process, like it, I'd be turning it into
Yeah.
like a production line. I'll actually enjoy the process of model building, but
Yeah.
a few of those. What are they called? The RX-7s, the Mazdas, the real curvy ones. I
Uh-huh.
think there's one here. No, there's not. There's somewhere else. But I've got a. Oh, yeah, this one hiding up in the corner.
Okay.
But I've got a couple of those that everything's painted, everything's ready to be assembled and done, and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And I just kind of got over it. So I'll put them back and like pull something else out that interests me, and like just repeat the process for the last 15 years. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
you end up with all those half-done kits. But
Have
it's
you?
a good feeling to have.
Yeah. Have you ever looked at it? Because all right, I'm gonna paint the picture here. So that one GTR, right, that I had been working on, the
Uh-huh.
the Liberty Walk. I think it's a Hakuzaku, something like that. And
Hakoska, yes.
there you go. There you go. You got it. And I painted it that Millennium Jade color, right? So that car, I took my time with it. I ran into some problems, but then I like fixed them, and I was like super happy at the end. I was gonna go with one color, then it didn't turn out right, so I ended up going with another color. And you know, putting it together and it being one of those first Aoshima kits, I was just like super, super hyped, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I got it to, I guess I would say like 90% like finished, right? And there's like the tail lights and there's like the side view mirrors that are right in the front.
Yep.
So all I need to do is cut out a piece of like a little kind of circular little oval. I need to get the shape of the inside of that to cut out with the mirror chrome. So
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
this
Yep.
way I can slap it in there, right? So that's one thing I need to do. The second thing I need to do is get the clear tail lights and just paint them red, clear red with like a Tamiya lacquer
Yep.
and just glue them on. And that's it, right? And I thought, oh, maybe I'll put a like an exhaust tip, aluminum tip, something, in the back or whatever. And that's it. But dude, I still haven't even done it. Like
Yeah.
but you know what? I have it in a case and I have the model in front of me and I stare at it every day I'm in the room. I look at it and I like it, like I admire it. And I know I could weather the wheels too, but I haven't even done it, right? And sometimes I was thinking about like this. Maybe it's almost like when you like discover like a book that you're reading and you start getting into the book and then you realize you're halfway through the book
Yep.
and you know that you could finish this book tomorrow or in 2 days because the story is like so good. So then, you just leave your bookmark on there, you put the book away, and then later you pull it out and you're like, oh, this is so dope. And I feel like I'm on like I'm comparing like kind of like it's like the last chapters of the book. But I don't want to finish it because I just
Yeah.
know that there's no continuation to this book, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's being like one of your first Aoshima kits, you're kind of discovering like the design tenets they follow, and like, you know, their usual way of like mounting wheels and all that sort of like fun stuff. And like, you know, it feels like a huge accomplishment. But like, you know, I suppose there's nothing stopping you from like calling it done, you know, and
Right?
putting it in the display case with all those extra bits just lying next to it.
Yeah.
And you know, it looks good in that jade color. Like that's like such a nice color for that car with that surf line down the side of it. But like, yeah, no, like it's kind of like there's no rules, so you know we can enjoy our kits however we want. You know, there's no
Yeah.
rule. We don't have to finish them. We can, you know, if they're bringing us joy, just sitting there. You know, why not let it do that? But it is nice to finish kits sometimes. You know, we can
Yeah.
say how much we love the process, but it is nice to, you know, hold a finished kit in your hand.
Yeah.
But you know, hopefully you can get it done soon. I think on my
Yeah.
one, I think I used a red Sharpie on the last, like the tail lights I did for one of those. It's probably in a box up here somewhere. But yeah, I did the same thing. Like it's not finished, you know.
Yeah.
And you get to explore, you know, the culture of like the style of car you're doing, because it's all like slammed to the ground, like, you know. I'm probably murdering all these Japanese words that I'm trying to say. You know, by
Hey,
getting the
I feel like you said that one right. I couldn't even say it.
yeah, no, it's kind of like you explore the culture behind these cars. It's kind of like me with like the lowrider builds. All of what I understand and have seen of that, like the culture and the art around them, has been like online and in magazines and stuff like that. So like building models of them, it's kind of like, you know, like it's an assignment, you know, like from school. Hey, you got to like learn all this stuff because you know you're excited about this new like genre and the thing you've found. You want to do a really good job, and it's kind of like that's kind of the process I like. You know, it's
Yeah.
I could never finish another model again, and I'd be like happy because for everyone, like the vans. Remember the vans? I have it right here because I moved it to like
Oh,
get in
let's see. Yeah.
the super yellow one. That's the one I did, and
Yeah.
I think
Dude, that's tight.
I had to move it to get it like the PowerPoint that and that's the one Cam did.
Dang.
He did it all weathered up.
He gave it to you, right? He just sent it to you?
Yeah, he like sent me a box of stuff and that was in there. I'm like,
Oh,
dang, that's like a responsibility to look after that build.
yeah, that's a cool
They're,
build. Both of those are awesome.
they're so wild and like, you know, they're the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. You take
Yeah.
a commercial vehicle and make it utterly useless in a commercial setting, you know? You can't
Yeah.
like safely drag stuff around in a car that's like 80% fiberglass, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But it was part of that process, you know. I got to explore like the culture behind it and like seek out like knowledge and answers and like why they do it.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's just like anything else, like, you know, the crazy bands that from like the 70s and 80s. It's just because it looks cool, you know. There's no like secret meaning.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's kind of like that process is kind of like important, I think. Like you can do awesome models, but if you're treating it like a job and like, you know, not really enjoying it,
Mhm.
then it's kind of like I feel like why do it? You know, there's no rules and you can start and finish builds all you like and, you know, put them to the side for 15 years, you know, using myself as an example. It's, you know, and with Instagram and social media, it just like compounds that immensely because you can like talk to people really easily about all the stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like I hope you finish it one day, and I hope I see that skyline finished.
Yeah, I
But
mean it's for the listeners, you know, I feel almost like I have the third installment to those two pieces, right?
yeah,
Because Cam was nice enough to send me the body kit, those pieces to it, and it was crazy because I mean I wasn't expecting that, and I was like, oh shoot, for real? He's like, yeah, you know, give me your address, and he sent it through, and I was like, oh shit. Then I saw what you guys were doing. I was like, man, you know, that's like so dope, and it looked like a very like a hard to find rare like kit, you know, those exterior parts. And when I got it, I mean, I was just blown away looking at everything. I was just like geeking out, and and I was asking Cam like, hey, what body or what model does this go with? And he showed me a photo. It goes with this one here. So I was happy and lucky that my distributor still had those in stock.
Yeah,
It it kind of looks like an older kit, huh? But I don't know. I mean, it kind of does, but I'm not sure. I mean, I never saw that style of like high ace kit at like hobby stores and things like that. Maybe it's just
No,
one.
me neither. It seems to be niche. That kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. Like they're probably like, nah, this ain't gonna sell or something. I don't know. I just never saw it, and I was like, yo, I gotta get this car. And now it's like I have the car and I have the kit, and I just gotta put that one together. But it looks awesome.
Yeah, it's waiting for you. I can't wait to see like you like post up about it and experience like the kit and the way it goes together. And because you're starting with like just a family car, like the high ace, and
Yeah.
like the donor kit, it looks nothing like when they got all the body panels on.
Yeah.
It's a complete transformation.
Oh my
And
god.
like of course, thank you to Ken for like letting us
Yeah, dude. Thank
do
you
these
for that.
ridiculous builds
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah.
it's so cool, so
Yeah.
cool.
I was telling him, and even you, I was telling you that the box art, like, even the writing, like it says Zelda. It reminds me of like Zelda, like Link and Zelda, like the Nintendo.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, yo, this is pretty cool right here. But I'm
Yeah, I
sure.
think like the company of the original one was called like Zelda or something like that. But yeah, that's the first thing I thought as well. Is like it's kind of like it's it's got a bit of like because the place like Zelda takes place in is called Hyrule, and the Zelda kit's for a high ace, so it's kind of got that. It's kind of phonetically close,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's really cool to experience something so ridiculous and like completely back page of what we're used to,
Yeah.
because like we've kind of done like Australian people like in the model scene and like the American people kind of have grown up so far, like people our age or however long we've been building have grown up with the USDM stuff. So like compare like an old Impala in general to one of the stupid high aces. It's just it's completely insane. It's like how far have we come from when we originally started
Hmm.
to now that we're seeking out and experiencing this completely new ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
um it's just really like I'm grateful to have that experience of like this is our hobby and how we put our like effort into stuff
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like putting our effort into something, trying to do something really stupid really well, is like really really fun to me. And like I was playing catch up the whole time because Cam and I were building them at the same time, and we all know how like lightning fast he gets through stuff.
So
And
quick.
I think
Yeah.
yeah, he was being quite patient, with
Oh,
how long it was taking me.
yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun. I can't wait to see what you do with your one. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Remember that video you sent me of high ace? It was like drifting. He was like
Yeah,
dude was in a racetrack, had a helmet and everything, and he's just like hauling it. And you're like, dude, that thing looks like a brick. And it's just like,
yeah, I know. They've taken a rectangle and made it go very quick.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
know.
some crazy stuff out there.
I feel like if I was riding shotgun in one of those and going through a track like that, I'd be like not even worried about the speed. I'd be worried about it flipping over or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'd be like holding on to stuff like, oh, dude, like just bracing for impact, just
Yeah.
thinking like every turn, all right, this is it. This is it.
Just saying your prayers and holding on.
Yeah. But man, the dude made it happen though. He
Yeah, it's like I think it's kind of like the model builder sort of thing. You're taking something and using it for something it's not meant to be used for. I
Mhm.
love it when they do that with like drift cars and stuff. There's a high ace that we've seen. There's a few of those getting around, and
Mhm.
there's a tiny little Nissan March, like a K car. I don't think they're K cars, but it's like a tiny little hatchback, and they drift that around too. But hey, maybe it'll give you inspiration for that that zoom on kit that you got. that
Oh,
I'm
I know,
also
right?
hoping to
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
start soon.
It's a trip because I see that available when every time I'm looking at their site, and out like that kit, the high ace kit, and then the one for the Supra, the wide body, for like the newer Supra. Those are the two that catch my eye all the time. I'm in on that site, and I'm always looking at the photos. I click the link, and I'm just looking at the photos and just daydreaming. And
Yeah.
I was like, yo, I gotta get this high ace kit. And I don't know, I got it, and I really didn't have a chance to really like look at the whole thing. But then, real quick, like I'll kind of open it and I'm just like, oh shoot, like I can see stuff in baggies and like the wheels right there.
Yeah.
But I haven't really like, because I remember I was telling you, yo, I'm gonna take some photos and I'll show you like what comes in it. And I still need to get to that. And even earlier today, having like a day off from work and everything, right? I'm thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do all this stuff. I have all day. Hell no, dude. Like my day went by so quick. And if anything, I feel like I was just catching up on some other stuff I needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I need to show you. I mean, I've seen the photos of what they show you on the solicitations, what they're selling, but like just to see it in person, it looks awesome because it's like photo etch pieces, it's like backmasking, like tape to get that paint job if you're going for that, decal, water slide decals, the wheels, the body kit. It's a full package for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully one day I hope to do one, but I'll settle for just watching you do yours one day. For
Mhm.
now, because it looks like a big undertaking.
It
Um,
does. No, it does, dude. This looks like something where for sure you gotta, clean all those parts, do the fitting for them. But even then, as you're going, it's almost like you have to cut out some of that photo edge and kind of line it up to make sure everything is going, because there's some pieces that looks a little big. Because it's not only just like in the driver's seat or like that area, it's also like for the back part.
yeah, there's that huge
Here.
big plate of PE, isn't there, for the floor or whatever?
Yeah, and I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, what if you're already going through the stages, and at the end you're like, oh crap, like
Yeah, you
I
painted
shouldn't have,
everything.
like I shouldn't have glued this plastic piece yet, maybe that was
Yep.
after. So yeah, I just feel, but at least one thing I'm happy about is that there's plenty of high aces out there. Like the kits are available. They're,
Yeah.
it's one of those things, like if you're into them, you're gonna buy them. But I don't feel like everybody's fully committed into them. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they look cool though. You know, I
Yeah.
dig.
And I kind of see it the same as like, the people building the pickup trucks and like slamming them and doing all the modifications and stuff. I kind of like put like high aces in the same category because,
Mhm.
it's like a commercial vehicle that you're turning into a hot rod, in like the
Yeah.
general sense of the word hot rod. And it's they're so cool. I found one. I was lucky enough to find one of the VIP style ones at this, like, it was a secondhand kit on this Gundam website, and they
Mhm.
sell secondhand kits. And the high ace turned up. I'm like, oh, yep, buy, need it. And it's it's got like the full body kit and everything like that.
Oh
And
shoot.
then I got the other one from you as well, and I was like
Uh,
starting to. I was, how they make the fronts look all angry, like
yeah.
the bonnet on them, they like make them
Yeah.
scowl,
Yeah.
like make them all scary. I started doing that, and I think like the glue I was using didn't cure like between the styrene, so I would sand it, the line would come up, I'd prime it, I'd sand, go over it over.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've got high aces, more high aces to do one day for sure. They're
Uh,
way too cool of a platform to
yeah.
ignore.
I mean, we even see those collectors that do the 1/64 scale high aces,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
we're like,
it's
dude,
nothing but high aces.
yeah, but even that seems like a challenge to find them is like so hard, and they're expensive too.
Yeah, yeah, and there's there's so much we have to like catch up on with like interests, because there's those die casts, and they're all wide bodied and they have like the different liveries and things like that. And
Mhm.
there's like, it's an established thing you got have to kind of like weasel your way into to find out like where to get everything and what's what.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I forget what the dude's name was. I don't know if it was like Mr. High Ace or something. It was like that's all he was posting. You
Yeah,
know, that's all he had in his collection. I mean, I have a few pieces of high aces, and there's some others I want to get, but man, yeah, they get expensive. Once you start feeling like you have that collector's like itch of a completist that you want to get them all,
yeah, yeah.
it's gonna
And
get
you're done
bad.
for. Your wallet's never gonna recover.
Yeah, nah, dude, you're totally done. And
Yeah,
on some of your latest posts, you've been post. I like that post you did about the wheels, showing like different sizes that you had printed. Um, Tell us like as far as like wheels, like what kind of like your interest right now. I know you're into doing different designs and things like that, but how's that been going so far with like 3D printing the wheels?
yeah, good. At the moment, it's getting a lot colder, so I have to adjust my settings on my printer because it doesn't like the cold.
Mhm.
Um, but it's good. It's like I'm going through and finding some like old files and kind of revamping them and sizing them properly, like from before I had less experience. And right now, like I'm always going to be into like the small diameter like JDM wheels, like those Marios, like the barbecue grill wheels,
Yeah, those are cool.
because they're just like the silliest wheel I've ever seen. And the Volkswagen stuff, I'm just starting to get into because there's a whole like scene of Volkswagen stuff, and then there's Volkswagen wheels, and it's just a whole nother like hole to fall down. But the last ones I've done, oh gosh, I can't even remember. I think I redid. No, they're not the ones. I redid like a little like just simple Steely pursuit wheel.
Awesome.
Um, I thought I'd lost the file, but I was like digging through my hard drives looking for it because I didn't want to have to draw it again.
Yeah.
Because I've done it once, and I found it and gave them a go, and that's the one I'm up to at the moment. Um, Trying to decide like should I do it in separate offsets? Should I like do the center like in a different spot or
Mhm.
and things like that? And I always every few months will try to do a wire wheel just to see if I can. Because it's like that's my Everest is to be able to do a perfect wire wheel with all the gapping correct to do a like chrome plating or anything like that on it. And
Mhm.
I don't think I. This might be it. That is it. This one was like a 15-inch style. It's a bit. Well, I don't mind focus. It's a 15-inch style like mini truck sort of. You see how like stretched the
Oh yeah,
tire is and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
That's the last one I've tried to like get the wire wheels right, and I feel like I'm close.
Mhm.
To perfecting it, but it's kind of one of those things I'm not too stressed about because I don't even have a project in mind, to use the wheels on. I just did
Yeah.
them because I wanted to do them. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm up to with the 3D wheel stuff. I haven't like got any like major plans or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's more just if I see something I love that I must have, like the Mario wheels,
Mhm.
then I'll draw them up, print them, and then that project's done. I like feel fulfilled because I've like it's available to use on a build if I decide to use it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it's cold at the moment, so like the printing has slowed down a lot. Just while
Mhm.
I dial it in because the FEP sheet at the bottom when it's really cold, like 15 Celsius and below. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. But the it's not as stretchy. It's a bit more like rigid. So when it sucks it off the plate and it stretches up, it doesn't stretch up as much. So you can get errors. And so that's kind of what I'm like dealing with at the moment. It's the printer's sitting over there with a shopping bag over it to keep it out of the light, and it's kind of in a timeout because
Oh
it's given
yeah.
me the poopies.
You go put it in the corner timeout.
Yeah, just let it know it should think about what it's done
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm just like taking it easy at the moment.
No, that's cool. One question that I had for you too, referencing the wheels. So when you do a print, like you have the wheel inside and then the tire on the exterior, are they two separate pieces or is it all one piece?
Like I've
Like
got one right here.
yeah, because I always wondered about the tire and the rim, like because I know when they look painted, they look nice, like the blacks, the tire's black and then the rim, depending how you paint it. But once it's put together, it just looks super clean. But I always wondered, like, is it two pieces or is it all one piece and you're backmasking?
Oh right, yeah, no, it's two pieces. Like here's one. Here's like a failed print, but you can kind of see how everything's there. There's tires and wheels are separate.
Nice.
Um, and like if the centers of the rims were separate as well, I'd put them inside the tire to print
Hmm.
because it's like a efficient use of space. But when I try to get away with like not gapping the tires directly to the rim
Hmm.
because it's really difficult if they can shrink the longer you cure them. So it's not really worth going for a slip fit where the tires like press onto the wheels. Because
Yeah.
you have to mock them up and stuff like that, and the
Hmm.
paint will also like make a difference. So
Yeah.
we're really lucky with prints and tires because tires are black.
Hmm.
So whatever gapping is around the outside, you won't be able to see because the tire's painted black, and the inside where there's no light is black as well.
Hmm.
So you can get away with like gapping them a bit oddly. What I usually do is I'll put some masking tape around the hoop. Gosh, that lamp is bright. I'll put masking tape around it, and that's how I get away with gapping them like really close because like I don't have the patience to like sort out a slip fit for the wheels. But
Hmm.
usually on a 3-piece wheel, um, for every wheel I do, there'll be a hoop, and then there'll be the center, like the spoke face, and then there'll be the tire, and then there will be like the lug nut hub. So that's usually how I'm setting out tires. So each wheel and tire
That's
is
dope.
4 pieces at least.
Yeah.
And like I know like people have told me like the separate hubs are really annoying because there's like it's just another piece that's really breakable and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And but the reason I do the hubs separate is depending on the wheel design, you can kind of lose detail if you like design it like lazily, like I do. Like I don't bother gapping stuff like lug nuts on the actual wheel. So doing it a separate piece is just so much easier than adding it.
Yeah. Is it hard
And
to put together like when you're sighting them or do you have to kind of press it? I mean, because of the gap, I would assume it's a bit more easier, but then with the tape though, do you run into any issues?
no, not usually. Like I've kind of like you get a feeling for like sizing them. I get it wrong sometimes, and it'll be too like tight. And I'll have to sand the hoop. Um, but other than that, no. Like I've kind of got a feel for it mostly. Um, like it's so many parts that have to go together. You just kind of get used to how gapped things have to be. And like how close they are to each other. But on some of them, I think not those. These ones are like a Volkswagen style. They have that big open hub. So, and that was really
Oh,
difficult
cool.
to kind of because I'd never done that design before, and the hole in them is like it's like really big. So I had to detail the hub as well as the spoke face, um, and like so fitting all those parts together after you've primed it, after you've painted. I try to gap things small enough that that's not an issue. There hasn't been many that I've had to like sand or drill out the lug hub holes. Just because I'm kind of used to it now, and I've stuffed up enough that now I know what to look out for and that sort of thing.
That's cool. So like when let's say you already drew up the wheel and you have it, you could basically print it at various scales, right? 124, 164 or bigger.
You can always go bigger. You can always size stuff bigger, but I would probably not go smaller on certain designs. Like for example, the wire wheels. Um, I do those with like a 0.3 millimeter spoke. So if you go smaller than that, you probably might run into print issues because it's a bit too thin. But with like normal wheels, like those steely ones that I showed you, with like all the holes in them, you could probably like go down to 64 if you wanted. But the gapping between the tire and the rim would be a lot smaller. So you'd have to make the tire like a little bit bigger, to like, because I gap them for 24th scale. So if you make them say 48th scale, the gapping between the tire and the rim would be halved. So you might have to put a bit of mustard in it to get them to go together.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah, I don't know. It seems interesting because, like, I see the wheels, but I've always wondered about that, like that process of putting them together. Especially like having all the separate pieces.
It gets really annoying. Yeah, putting them all on paint stands and stuff.
Yeah, that, and then I'm just thinking, like, let's say if you're doing like a mock-up and it's 3 separate pieces and you put them together, and then you have it set, but it's not like glue or anything, And then you're gonna put it with the body, and then having them maybe fall apart or something like that midsection.
Yep. I keep like lots of blue tack, like this stretchy stuff around.
Okay.
And I'll just like cram it in the back of the wheel between the spoke and the hoof.
Yeah.
And so before I paint it, I have to get it all off so I don't like paint over it.
Yeah. Damn, that's cool, man. And like for listeners, I want to get your wheels on. Do they get it through the 3D Colts?
Yep. Colts 3D. I have everything I have available on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, I have no plans to upload anytime soon. Like, it's just kind of I do it when I feel like it type thing. I don't run on a schedule or anything like that. But yeah, you can find them up there. I try to make sure the files I upload are pretty bulletproof. So like there is some like difficult to print stuff, but for the most part, if you're just starting out with 3D printing, I try to kind of cater to like the entry level kind of models, like without too many parts or anything like that. But yeah, Coles 3D. You can find the link on my biography profile on Instagram, right? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's a trip how I feel like there's like for the modeling scene, like there's for 3D printing, there's an avenue for like 1/64 scale, 1/24, and then what is it, 1/10 scale, the RC?
Yep. Mostly 1/10. Yeah.
So you got like three different avenues right there, right? And it's almost like each one is a different planet, but we're on the same galaxy, So,
yeah.
And I don't know, I just trip out, how, especially, about the RC stuff. It's something that came to light, maybe like a couple years, it feels like, almost. And it's something that's like, it's like a train that's moving very fast. Everything is in motion, nothing is stopping. There's always, out of everybody who's getting into the lowrider RCs, someone's like coming out. It's like someone is in the lead, like, oh, check it out, like look what I came out with, right? Look at the chassis of my car now. Look at the bottom, it's all chrome or whatever. And then the next guy comes up, oh, mine's like faster, and then like it hops more realistic, and then all of a sudden Jeffries pops up on the top. Like, check it out, guys. And then everyone's trying to reach it, but he's still like, it just like, there's no ending. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see, though. Like, it's fascinating. But then later, looking from out, you see like these meets, right? Like they're getting together, they're showcasing their cars, they're doing little hop offs, they're recording, them, like, I don't know, it looks fascinating enough that I feel like going to one of these events just to see what it's about, right?
Yeah, just see what's going on in the scene and like how they're like leaping and bounding and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, getting further deeper into it,
Yeah, no, yeah.
There's a slew of parts out there for sure.
Yeah, and but I trip out though. But I feel though that with the 1/10 scale, I just kind of feel like someone that comes out with a part kind of feels entitled, like, yo, like I made this, like this is my part, you know, nobody can make it. Like like there's like these little battles. And I mean, I'm sure there's stuff like that too in other scales, you know, with especially with like the wheels and stuff like that. But I feel like now everyone, like with 124, everyone's just kind of doing their thing, you know. And over here, I still feel like it's like on some b-boy like competitiveness.
It's kind of like, you know, when you see a YouTube video and you scroll down to the comments and there's one that says first. It's like, okay, you commented first, great.
Yeah,
you know,
first, yeah, because he saw the video. He's like, first comment.
Yeah. I kind of see it like that, and like other people are going to comment, and they're going to comment better, and you know, you commenting first doesn't diminish, you know, anyone else's achievements and that kind of thing. So you know, it's kind of, I see it as like, you know, we're in a hobby together. There's no leader, nothing like that. We're all doing our own thing and contributing, and it's kind of like, you know, that's it kind of like says who we are, you know, in the hobby. And and yeah, like it's, you know, it's different for everyone, and you know, it's, you know, more power to the people who have a competitive spirit for sure. And you know, it's that's what's going to, like, you know, help push as well, you know, everything. So it's kind of like, it's a double-edged sword, you know. You don't like to see beefs and, you know, drama and shit like that, and but you know, it's kind of like, if that helps push it, sure. You know, but you know, it's there's a spectrum, you know. It's like there's going far too far, and there's doing you know, not enough and all that kind of thing. So, and with 3D printing, you know, everyone can do their own thing. Everyone can do exactly their own thing. We're not held back by what aftermarket is available. You know, back in the day, trying to hunt down, you know, Pegasus wheels or Aoshima Fujimi wheel sets, and now you can have a brand new wheel set that's never been done in scale and or parts, you know, and it's exploding so fast. So, you know, it's kind of like, I get far too into it, and like, you know, try to, like, you know, find stuff I find super interesting that I can also do.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I'm kind of like limited by my skill, and I'm only able to like do the stuff I can do is, you know, because there's a demand, you know. And it's, as much as I can like say, you know, I'll do it for myself and stuff like that, I do like to contribute and kind of try to share at least like the stuff I can do around, because you do get a fuzzy feeling, you know, of seeing other people use your stuff. It's it's just like a wicked feeling, you know. I can imagine like it's the same for you when you see someone post up with, like, you know, a kit that you sold to them, and they're having, like, you know, a really fun time.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of like distributing opportunity. You know, it's every kit has a certain amount of time that someone's going to spend on it, and like enjoying it. And the more kits you sell, or the more kits you buy, even, you're like banking thousands of hours of enjoyment. You know, or challenging, or, you know, maybe model building pisses you off and you just like being angry or something like that, you know. I don't know. But yeah, I kind of see it like that, you know. We're kind of in uncharted waters with additive manufacturing, like 3D printing. It's kind of terrifying when you think about it, you know. It's someday there's going to be retail stores where you can go in and you can order online the stuff you want, and then swing by, pick up fresh 3D printed things. You're not having to worry about logistics and shipping and stuff like that. And it kind of is, it's really wild to think about, you know. It's what's going to happen next. You know, we're seeing people jump by leaps and bounds. Remember the last time we talked, I was unsure. I was kind of tentatively saying, like, I don't know if people will kind of 3D print full kits. It's kind of not there yet. The next week, Joel had 3D printed a kit, and I was like, well, yeah, that shut me up. You know, it's going so fast, and you know, it's just, we're all just like swimming, having a great time. And
Yeah,
like,
like right now, there's only a handful or maybe like a few people, let's say, printing bodies that you see online. And the machines, every year it's a fact that the machines are going to become better,
yeah,
and
yeah,
others are going to be the older ones are going to start to become obsolete. you know they're going to start to get passed down and passed down. But then there's always going to be that newer one, and then the newer one, and the newer one.
yeah.
um but like, do you from your experience, do you estimate that, let's say, by next year, there will already be a more sophisticated, faster machine to give you the same good results that you're getting, but instead of waiting 6, 4, or 8 hours, then now you're going to be waiting maybe half that time, but you're actually going to be printing like full bodies and like bigger pieces, or are we still maybe like we still need like 2 more years to get to that point?
Oh, I don't know. Like, it's kind of like going from the last thing. Like, I was completely wrong about how quickly people would be printing kits, and but the last printer I had was a Photon S, and that was I think it was a 2K screen machine, and it was a color screen, like at the bottom of the vat. And the next generation of machine, I got a 4K, and it had a black and white screen, which means it could print faster. It halved the time, less than half the time. I went from 7-second layer times to 2-second layer times in the space of a year.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, it's. I think it's going to be like exponential growth. The only thing I think holding us back is the material, the resin,
Okay.
because that's kind of a limitation, I feel like, because the printers have grown in leaps and bounds and so fast, but the resin hasn't really changed that much, like the liquid.
Yeah, the
It's like,
evolution of it, it's
that's
still.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's like kind of lagging behind. Not lagging behind because it does a good job, but um, I think with the standard resin I use,
Mhm.
the Anycubic, just grey, just standard stuff, hasn't changed all that much. I think they've made like little tweaks to the recipe or whatever, but it's still kind of like where that's the next jump. I think will be like resin that's kind of, it won't warp as much, or it's easier to get your settings right, or things like that.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, no, the screens are always going to get bigger. They're going to get more resolution. The like up and down, like the Z rail. There's always going to be faster versions of that, and the FEP sheet, the clear sheet at the bottom of the vats. They say it's like, like how they release New Coke and then release Coke Classic.
Oh
I
yeah.
kind of feel like there's something like that going on with the FEP sheet. They'll say this FEP
Coke,
sheet's
Coke
specifically
diet.
designed. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and like it's specifically for this
Cherry
machine. I'm
Coke.
like,
Yeah.
it's. I feel like it's just all the same stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and but yeah, it's like we haven't even begun at home printing. With, you could in the future have like a double printer where one vat will print the supports in a certain material like
Mhm.
wax, and then it would shift the rail over and print the thing you actually want in resin. And then you could just like use warm water to melt the wax away and reuse it. So there'll be no more like clipping off supports or anything like that. And the different materials, the spaghetti printers, I forget what they're called.
Mhm.
They come off a big spool of plastic thread.
Yeah.
Um, those guys can have like wood infused filament, aluminium, it's all just held together with glue and that sort of thing. And I feel like resin printing isn't there, like with kind of the material diversity yet.
Yeah.
We have all the colors in the rainbow,
Mhm.
which is great, but
Yeah.
it's, yeah, no, I think that's the next big thing. Like, there's no way we're going to have less resolution. There's no way we're going to have smaller print. Well, no, that's wrong. We'll have smaller printers, but it's because I have a pretty small printer. That, yeah, no, exactly. It's kind of, it's just the beginning. We're just
Yeah.
starting.
Yeah.
And I go back and forth on that. I'm like, have we reached the peak of what we're able to do at home in just
Mhm.
like within our hobby? And it's like, hell no, like maybe I've reached my skill cap and like, what I'm willing to kind of do with my printer, but I know there's hungry dudes out there absolutely looking for like the best resolution. There's a 3D model out there. It's really popular. It's of an LS engine. Everybody has this file because it's free, and it's a full detail file, which means you have oil gullies, you have like the cams on it and stuff like that, and the crankshaft and the pistons and the conrods, and theoretically you can print that well enough at the moment to where you could spin the crankshaft and the pistons would go up in their pattern.
Shoot. Yeah.
And it was one of the first things someone sent me, was like a maybe 120 scale print of this block, and it was in clear resin, and I could like see all of the water like channels and oil channel, and it just blew my mind. And at some stage someone's going to make it work. It's just a matter of time before we get like functional kind of, who was it doing the pulleys that spin around? I've forgotten their username, but there was someone doing like spinning pulleys and fans and stuff. And I feel like at some stage we're going to just have a physically functional engine. There won't be fuel in it, of course, because if that's just making a little bomb. But like we'll have it so you can see the internals of the engine, like those old see-through engine kits. You remember those? They were like 1/6 scale.
Yeah.
We can kind of have those, but we can 3D print them if someone designs them. But it's coming.
It's almost like think about like machines replacing jobs, right? Let's say it's like when you go to the store, before you get your groceries or you buy your whatever clothes, whatever it is, you'd have someone help you to ring you up, process the stuff, ring you up, give you your total, and maybe chat a little bit or whatever. And it got to the point where they're installing self-checkout machines.
Yeah.
And now that everyone, some people, like half the people still like to go to the teller old school style, but the other half's like, nah, I'm in a hurry. Like I'm just trying to get in and out. Self-checkout, all right, I'm out. I already know how to work the machine. And it's almost like with like 3D printing, like imagine the takeover in the future, right? And I'm comparing this to let's just say, I don't want to name a name of a company, but let's just say imagine a model car company that haven't released this model in years. Like it's been years, and people are very like, they're paying high prices for this. So here comes an individual who's like, yo, I'm gonna redesign that car again. 164, I'm gonna add, all the what do they say, the bells and whistles and everything to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna add everything to it, right? What people really want, I'm gonna add it to it. And then next thing you know, a model car company makes the announcement that, hey, that model is gonna come to light coming like summer of like 2024 or whatever. And they've already spent the money, like they had to create a new mold and everything. They spent, so much money. They're already, gonna get these made. And before the car even drops in stores, let's say the individual that 3D printed that made that file, let's say that they sell it worldwide to anybody, right? But it's only going to be on sale for like 30 minutes. And by then, let's just say that the machines are so sophisticated and fast that when you get this file, it's like gold, like you struck gold. Because now you could print that car like every hour. You could have a complete car, and you could print thousands of them. Let's say, right? And it just sounds so bad right now, but I'm just trying to throw scenarios, all right? And like imagine everyone gets it, and then by the time the car drops, like it hits the stores or the distributor, no one's buying it no more. And the company's like, what's going on? Why isn't like no one? Because everybody has like hundreds of them now, or they have the file and they could just print thousands whenever they want, but they're not doing it, right? And later they find out, oh crap, like we're done. Like we invested all our money into this car, and we're not making any money back, so they gotta file like for bankruptcy. And the next thing you know, that company gets phased out, and then it happens again and again, and another company phases out. And I mean, next thing you know, it's the machine that's obsoleting the employee. But the
Yeah,
employee is the company. I don't know. Um, I don't know. What do you think about that scenario?
it's very likely. If a company says they're going to release a car, and someone says, I don't want to wait a year for that to release, I'll get a file and print one now.
Dang, yeah.
Like from a hands-on work point of view,
Hmm.
I would personally wait because um, it's kind of like resin bodies. You can either print a really good one or it might have issues that you got to fix or something like that. But if printers are going to get faster and better, and what's that Daft Punk song, better, faster, stronger,
Oh
or
yeah.
something like that.
Is that fun?
It's going to be like you have that choice as a consumer.
Yeah.
But having said that, if you buy a file, you're also um, you know losing a lot of your time in cleaning it up and removing the supports, and at the moment, like with printers now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, is it worth your time to do that and maybe have the frustration or whatever, and have a model that something might go wrong with. And my main thing is making windows. I hate making windows out of acetate. Hate it.
Yeah.
So like that's something that's a definitely drawback. So, but an injection molding machine that they take a really long time to secure the rights and do the dyes and get all the testing done and the market research and
Hmm.
everything like that, the packaging. As a consumer, you don't have to do any of that to obtain a certain model of car.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, you can wait a year and you can have an injection molded kit that was like manufactured to a high degree of quality. And you don't have to worry about windows. You just clean it up and build it like normal. But I'm beginning to see like there's kits maybe they don't have the molds for, maybe they can't secure the rights for,
Hmm.
and so 3D scanners exist. So what if there's a kit, like let's say $100 of a kit, and you really want one, you can't find one for a good price. What's it going to cost for you to 3D scan it and produce it, and just for yourself? And because 3D scanners, they will do a polygon size of 0.01 millimeters. You cannot distinguish if it's like a 3D scan and a 3D model of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell the difference if they were painted. And it's like I was looking for those OBS Chevy kits.
Hmm.
What's it called? The C1500 or something like that. And they're a bit expensive because they're really popular and they're cool cars. And it's like we currently have the ability to 3D scan and reproduce that. There's just we can, it's an option. But is it worth them, even if you're not selling it, is it worth your time and enjoyment to scan that and make sure the files are good and that sort of thing? But it's right now, I don't think it's worth the time to do it. I would just wait for a model kit to come out, mostly because I'm lazy. I don't want to clean up a 3D printed body.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is the stuff we're gonna have to think about. If there's is it Johan that are those hard to find ones?
Yeah.
If
Hmm.
there's one of those and say it's $500 and you invest that money and 3D scan it and print it, you can then sell that car.
Yeah.
It's I think at some stage we'll see that, oh, so and so's doing the old, what have you from Johan,
Yeah.
and it's going to happen at some stage for sure. But I
Hmm.
personally am too lazy to do that. I'm happy with my little wheels and engines and stuff like that. But
Yeah. You know how
yeah,
you
it's
you brought up the 3D scanners, right? And imagine, I mean, I don't know if the technology is already there, But imagine if imagine you bring out a photo, right? And let's say it's a photograph of like maybe you and a relative, like from I don't know, 20 years ago or so when you were younger. Like a memory, of that was captured. And let's say the scanner like it scans the photo, and now you have it on your software, and you're able to print the people that are in the photo, like so then you print it, and you're like, oh wow, I have like a small little scale. Let's have my dog or something, and me, and then
Yeah.
as a modeler, oh, I'm gonna paint it and get all crazy with it,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, you get one of those little cases, and you put the backdrop like the photo, and then you put the little figurines and the dog and me in front or whatever. So now it's like hella 3D. And, and
That'd be right.
what if somebody started doing that as a hustle, like a business, or they're
That's
like
it's
online ordering, submit your photos to me, pay $19.95, and pay the $3.95 postage, and I'll be mailing you a replica of you. That'd be insane. Imagine a family photo with like 10 figures, like a photo
yeah,
from
that's
like 1990 or something.
they kind of do that. It's not like for a flat photo from the past,
Hmm.
you can make I think it's called a lithophane, where you can print this photo flat, and the melted plastic printers are so precise in like how much plastic they put on. It'll end up looking like your photo, and you can put a light behind it.
Hmm.
But like what you're saying is like there's like trade shows where they sell 3D scanners and stuff. You can walk into this booth, and it'll scan you
Hmm.
360 and
Yeah.
then print you in color for you. Like, it's a little like, carnival show thing.
Dang.
Um, and so, yeah, there's stuff like that that happens. There was someone got in a bit of trouble. They did a sculpt based on like an artist, like a photographer's photo, and
Hmm.
they sold sculpts of that artist's photo in 3D. Like they sculpted it, and the artist won. They said, well, they used my photo and made this thing, and that sort of thing. But like what you're saying, I think like there's like machine learning can learn how to read photos in depth,
Yeah.
and shades of color or whatever. Um, Surely there'd already be someone working on that. I would imagine,
Yeah.
and it's only a matter of time before, there's those photo kiosks in shopping centers. Maybe there'll
Fuck.
be like 3D scanning kiosks, and
Yeah, you
you can
3D
get like a
scan, put
3D
your
scanning
money,
with,
you come out, you go walk around the mall for an hour, you come back, and it's, oh, I got my
yeah,
pocket
yeah,
size.
like a guy in like a straw hat goes, "Hey there, handsome fella, I want a 3D print of you and your best gal." And so I'm sure like it'll happen one day. It probably already has somewhere.
Dang. Hey, what if like out here, I remember you always hear people say, "Oh, modeling's done. It's dying. It's dead. Like this is it. This is it. Like it's over, right?" And but we see the boom of modeling, right? And then you ask, why are you saying that it's done? Why are you saying that it's over? What's your opinion on that? And people can be like, no, it's because everybody who's building the generation, it's older. It's from like 25 or 30 years old and up, right? There's no kids doing it or whatever, right? And we're focusing on that. We're focusing on that thought, like, oh, you're right, there is no kids. But what if that's not what kills modeling? What if what kills modeling is 3D printing?
Yeah,
What if
I've thought about it a lot. Like, it's
what,
when people say like model building is dying, it's like define model building.
yeah.
Is it buying a kit and building a kit? Or is it changing to like buying a kit, 3D printing the parts you want for it? Is that a part of it, or is it taking over, or is it pushing modeling aside, like traditional modeling, like scratch building? Um, I think it's always going to be a spectrum. There's always going to be people doing 100% 3D printed stuff, and
Mhm.
there's always going to be people doing 100% kits stock, and everyone else is like somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was thinking about it because like I took a break from like 3D drawing stuff because like personally for me I was spending so much time doing it, And I stopped and I thought I'm a 3D designer and printer who does model building sometime. I'm no longer a model builder that does a little bit of the 3D stuff. You know, it was like kind of skewed in one direction, and I'm like, am I a model builder? You know, if I'm only doing this 3D stuff and printing, and I kind of had to think and like, and then I kind of stopped and laughed. I'm like, it's whatever I say it is. You know, it's my hobby, and I think for everyone that has anything to do with the scale model, it's kind of defined however you define it. It's, you know, you could be gluing kits together with no paint and anything like that, and you know, that's model building. You can be 3D printing every single part of a model car, and you know, putting it together without glue and paint, and it's the same thing. You know, I think that's still model building, and we're kind of up to a stage where the 3D printing, it's so huge and big and new and exciting, and so you know, people are going to do it more, and it's going to have a lot of attention. But I think at the end of the day, I don't think 3D printing is taking anything away from model building. I think it's adding to the pastime, the hobby, the passion, the opportunity to express your creativity, and that's only a positive thing. You know, for people to have that opportunity, that outlet, and you know, at the end of the day, we're printing little parts for you know, model cars, and like taking it, that's like kind of like philosophical, serious point of view. I struggle with it, I really do, because like if I wasn't 3D printing, if I didn't have the printer, would I still be building like I am? You know, would I still have the interest? Would I feel like I'm missing out? But you know, it's something that's ongoing. My feelings change towards it kind of constantly. Right now, I feel the need to get back at the plastic, you know, and focus more on enjoying kits, and how well engineered they are, and you know, expressing my creativity with a model kit instead of through the computer screen. And it's, you know,
So
I'm not
true.
sure, you know, it's weird to think about, you know, from your point of view. You don't like have a printer or anything. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I try to, because I know it's like a new technology that's there to enhance, right? Enhance the model building. And I kind of related, like I look back at like with the thing I'm most connected with is music, right?
Yep.
Like the
Yep.
music industry, and also like the products that come out of music. And I still remember, when, like I was like, I mean, I still collect vinyl records, but there was a time where I was collecting it heavy, where I was like, man, am I ever gonna stop collecting? Like, I'm so addicted to buying records. And then this new technology came out, a new company, where basically you can use your songs that you have on MP3, and you could still, they had coded records that now you don't need to, it's like kind of like you don't need to use your records anymore. You could just use these two copies of records, and it's gonna read what's on your computer, all your MP3s. But MP3s was still fairly like a new thing, you know? Like MP3s, especially for certain genres, they weren't doing MP3s, you know? So the only way you could do an MP3 is if you bought CDs and you imported them into your computer. So then
Yep.
there was a transition where people stopped buying records, and now people were like, "Oh, the records are dead now. They're gonna die out because this new technology came out." And all of a sudden, CD sales went up, and then people imported the CDs, and then people started getting rid of the CDs, and all of a sudden, it gave birth to these like digital record pool like websites where you can be a member for like $10 a month, and you could download like whatever they had in the catalog that was MP3 now. So that was like a thing that was hot. And now people, it was like a division. People looked at it as like, how is this enhancing the scene of DJing. It's actually killing it because people are not supporting the record companies or the sales or whatever, right? But then time passed, and as things evolved, people started to see the skills that they were developing with doing it, like, let's just say digitally, you know? And all of a sudden, like, it took like the DJing to a whole nother level
Hmm.
that it would have never been done with just buying records, like physical records. Like, this newer technology, it actually at the end, it helped it catapulted it to the next level. And it's kind of the same, like when like I experienced that timeline, and when I'm seeing the 3D stuff, I kind of like, there's some similarities, and I'm looking at it and I'm going like, all right, 3D printing's been introduced already. And like
Yeah.
what you just said earlier, what if it wasn't there? Like, would you still enjoy model building? You know, like all these wheels you've made or parts, or even everybody else who's made their parts. What's happening is that this stuff has actually enhanced the builds, right? It's like SoCal Open. I was talking about how I saw like some high level stuff. Well, for sure, some stuff was like traditionally scratch built, but then also there was some 3D stuff in there thrown in, right? And it's very interesting to see that. I mean, it's definitely enhancing it, but then I also like to kind of think like, what if it's like so much enhancement that, like, let's just say something happens and like the plug gets pulled where you can't 3D print. Are you still going to enjoy model building because now you can use the wheels that you want to use or the engine you want to use? Like, what are you going to do
Yeah.
then? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a perfect analogy of technology moving at such a rate. And, do you jump in to it fully, or, do you step back and watch until, you're kind of sure about it?
Hmm.
Or, do you stick your toe in? And it's entirely possible that printers become scarce. Who knows what's going to happen, like, with the supply of parts for them and the materials. Maybe one day they say we're not making printers anymore because some mega company has bought every single manufacturer and is going to just use the printers for their own manufacture, or something like that. And I think it's important to think about that. It's like what you said. Would I still enjoy it? Having now had the opportunity to kind of have whatever I want, in whatever quantity that I can get it. And it's weird to think about. I haven't really like thought about it all that much.
Yeah.
And
I,
what
I know
I
I
would be
noticed
like,
I noticed for me, in the past, when I really like something, I wanted to have like multiples of it. Let's say a sticker, right? Like, I get one sticker and I'd be like, oh dude, this is cool. I like it. And I try to get more. And I get two, I get three, and then later I end up with six of them. Later I end up with like 12 of the same sticker. And and I'd be happy, like, oh, I have these. And later I'd get into something else, and next thing you know, I'm collecting various things, but I have so many copies of them, you know? But then as time passed, I remember telling myself, like, man, whenever there's something I can't find, like if it's something I really, really want and I just can't find it and I can't get it, I don't know, somehow within years, I end up finding it, but I end up finding like multiples of it. It's almost like I'm spoiled, right?
yeah,
And you would think like, well, that's cool. You're satisfied. But then again, what happens is, to me now, I notice that when I have so many of the same, it like ruins it for me. Like that, I don't that satisfaction's gone. So then what I learned is just to keep like one. Like, having just one of one, to me, it's like more, to me it's like exclusive. I want to take care of it. I want to appreciate it.
yeah,
And if I have extras now, I'm like, oh, here, like, you can have it, or I'll trade you or whatever. I'm not scared to let it go. But there was a time back then where I didn't want to, like, let stuff like that go. And but I don't know. I feel like, that happened with collecting like 64 Impala kits. I went from having one to later ending up with like 10 of them or whatever, and just feeling like, oh, cool. Like I could just reach into my closet and grab one and work on it, whatever, because they were available.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a special thing anymore because I had so many copies. And then eventually, like I think once I started like trading them, selling them, and I was down to like my one, I was like, oh shoot, I only have one. They're hard to find. Like, and they're expensive now.
Yeah.
Like
God, yeah.
what am I gonna do? And then time passed, and then later I was like, I'll sell it. I just got rid of it. And I don't know. It's just these phases, no, that we go through.
Yeah, it's kind of like, that's like a good analogy of like how the feelings towards, you get that special detail part, you get that set of wheels that you really want. And
Mhm.
now if you feel that way about a digital file, that kind of exclusivity isn't there.
Mhm.
It's has its pros and its cons. You can, like, you don't have to try your best.
Yeah.
You can do it just good enough, or you can stuff it up and just print another one. That kind of, yeah, it's kind of not there, the need to kind of, try 100%, and that thing, because you can press a button and get more. And, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing for sure. And I know that, like, through my experience of like drawing up what I do, um, I can have what I want, and as many as I please. And you're right. It's kind of like, this isn't the only one. It's not special. It's not unique.
Mhm.
Um, but it's kind of like how I use it. If I'm making a build worth it, it's not coming from that exclusivity of the part. It's
Mhm.
coming from how I feel about a certain genre, how much I know about it and research it, and that sort of thing. And there's a safety net. It's a
Yeah.
safety net now. Like, if I print a wire wheel and I use it and like I'm putting into the tire and put my thumb through the hoop, I can go, oh well, that sucks. But um, you know,
Yeah.
I can print another one. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
I've been so like careful with the wire wheels I have. Like, I've got
Mhm.
some Jeffries ones, and I like hold them by the tire really, really
Yeah.
careful, because I don't want to go anywhere near the spokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And
so
let me ask
it's
you this: do you only have one set or two sets of Jeffries?
I have two sets of
Okay.
different ones.
Okay. 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 So
Um,
so if they're different, it's still just one and then one.
yeah,
But
yeah,
just
yeah,
having
yeah,
that
yeah,
though, it makes you appreciate it more. Like makes you
yeah, yeah, yeah,
feel
yeah,
like special. Because imagine if you had 50 of them. Like
yeah,
it's cool, but that specialness of like this is the only set I have. And let's just say he announced that he's not gonna make anymore, you know? Imagine that. Like it makes it more special. But if you have so many of them, it's kind of like whatever that you
yeah,
go, like, yeah, I got them.
yeah.
But
And I feel like it's with with Hot Wheels collectors.
mhm,
When they have one of something, it's cool. You covet that single one. But
yeah.
if you go through and buy 40 of them and just like, keep them in your house, then it's kind of like, it's 1/40th special. And it certainly is like that for sure.
And it's
And
like a comic book. It's like having Punisher issue number like 644, and you have like a box full of like 50 copies of them. It's just
yeah,
like who wants these? You know?
yeah, it's like you have enough, they're worth nothing to you, but like to other people,
Like
they'd love to have them.
hand them over. Nah,
Yeah,
it's funny.
yeah. So like the value comes from, you know, kind of how much other people like want them with stuff. I've
Yeah.
seen people like with a garage full of what's that Deadpool one? Um, New Mutant something. But they had like, a bunch of graded copies of it. I'm like,
Damn.
they're not worth anything to you.
Hmm.
Um, but maybe they just really like, who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's
I
there's
always
like so many different reasons for it and everything.
I always wonder if like someone who is like heavy into 3D printing, and like every build that they're building right now, they have to use 3D printed parts. And let's say if they're listening to this podcast, if they would say, all right, I'm gonna go old school, like old school, I'm gonna just out of box built, if they would still get that satisfaction, you know. I wonder if they take that challenge and built it. You know, I remember talking to a model builder on Instagram. His real name is Dennis, and they call him Big D. And I remember, you know, when I had spoken with him on the podcast, interviewing him, he had said that he was like, he does all these, you know, he does lower, he had different styles, like hot rods and everything, but he was going to build a model and like just box stock, like out of box, and but using every piece that was in the kit,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and not cutting corners or nothing, not worrying about, oh, I'm gonna stance it, I'm gonna modify it. No, 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 no. Just straight up out of box, no aftermarket products, just the kit itself. But try to do it like kind of like if it was like a real car, you know, like whatever colors, you know, if it's a Chevy, you know, depending on the year, it's an orange engine, it's gonna be orange, you know. But he was saying how doing that was like difficult. Like he was like dude, like it's challenging, but I mean I have to do it, you know, because it's like he's used to doing customization. He's used to
yeah,
doing, I mean his builds are awesome and they're clean and you know, but and they're custom. But he was like, it's almost like you're resisting yourself from you know, doing custom and everything to like, all right, let me just go OG on here. I wonder if it's gonna be the same feeling, you know, now that you have that 3D printing and take it
yeah,
away
yeah.
for a build.
Kind of like it's tempting, you know, to like see, do I like, you know, because 3D printing and drawing like is a skill, and if I'm spending time doing those skills, I'm not spending time doing others with
Mhm.
you know, model stuff. And I think like, you know, my model building, tactile model building, OG old school model building, you know, has suffered a bit, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like I haven't progressed in that area while I've been progressing in other areas. And
Mhm.
yeah, for sure, you know, absolutely, without a doubt. And like with the bug that I'm doing, you know, I wanted to use like most of the kit parts just have the deep dish wheels that I printed on it. And like I'm enjoying like going through all the tiny little engine pieces and, you know, sanding off the mold lines. And you know, it's kind of nice to, you know, get back to that. I'm not like pushing the envelope. I'm learning skills that are already there.
Mhm.
You know, and improving on that and not pushing any envelopes and that sort of thing. Um, and for real, yeah, like it's, you know, you're kind of like you lose out on doing other things if you're concentrating on other areas. And like with the bug I'm doing, you know, I scribed some lines on it. I, you know, cleaned up more than I usually would on a kit. You know, like the underside of the bonnet and stuff like that. And it's nice to do that now. You know, I feel like I've like accomplished what I had like sort of super been like kind of thinking about with 3D printing and drawing stuff up. I've
Yeah.
done wheels and engines and, you know, and that sort of thing. And now it's kind of to the point where I've experienced that, you know, I've taken it as far as I can with my skills that I'm willing to do. You know, and it's kind of like now there's other things I want to improve with, like, you know, actual real, like, you know, model building, I suppose I would call it, you know.
Yeah.
And like BMF, I haven't done BMF for about 500 years. And you know, I wonder, like, you know, if like it's I can still do it as nicely. I didn't do it all that nice back then, but like if that skill has suffered, you
Yeah.
know, because I'm concentrating on other areas. And yeah, for sure. Like if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it, you know.
Yeah.
So I might have to like relearn some stuff because I've spent so long concentrated on the 3D printing stuff. And it's, you know, maybe someday I would like to do it because it's so ingrained with, you know, the hobby scene, like with me.
Yeah.
And because it's, you know, it took up the last like 2 years almost of like learning how to do this kind of stuff and having fun with it, and that's 2 years I spent less time on model building, and it's kind of to the point where, yeah, okay, now I'll focus on the more tactile stuff, because I have all these kits and they have so much to offer, as just like the computer has so much to offer, with like 3D stuff, and it's kind of like a balancing act. It's been 3D printing for a really long time. Now I'd like to skew it
Balance
back.
it out.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And it's with anything, it's like the balance of it. And like I'm kind of happy that I've experienced like kind of everything 3D printing had to throw at me. I could always take it further and stuff like that, but the skill jump is like really high, and I don't want to do that because that's a lot less time I get to spend on models. And it'd like I haven't explored fully why I would want to do that. I can draw what I like, and I'm doing it for me. It's not like a hustle thing, like a side hustle. It's what do I want to get out of the hobby? What do I want to express myself with in the hobby? And I feel like I have so many kits that every one of them is an opportunity to explore a new style or anything like that. And it's for sure. Like there's stuff I think I've kind of gotten like rusty at, particularly painting. I like suck at painting. I suck. And if I had spent the last 2 years building models normally and painting them, I would be a better painter. But it's kind of like in video games how you level up different stats.
Oh yeah.
And if you spend too long on one stat, the others kind of go down. I kind of feel like it's like that for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely for sure. Yeah.
Dang,
but it's been fun. If I did it again, I probably wouldn't do much differently because it's been so much fun.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, or tell you this: what if when you were saying earlier about resins, how you feel like maybe that hasn't really evolved yet, like it's there, but what if there was one resin that they came out with, right? That you print it. Now the printers are fast. You could have a print within like 30 minutes. Full body, engine, chassis, all the parts you need. And it looks clean. Like you don't really have to, like you could sand it with like 1000 grit. Like there's no lines, there's no holes, nothing. Like it's just super nice. The engine, everything's very highly detailed and everything that you're like, oh my God, 30 minutes. And I have the copy right here. You assemble it and everything, a mock-up and it's done. But then here's the kicker though, like the catch. You can't paint it. Like if you use lacquer paint, acrylic, oil, everything, any urethane, any kind of paint, it's gonna like fall off. Like it's just gonna like it's just not gonna work. Even if you wet it and you do all this stuff, you wash it and everything. Yeah, like you spray it and like the paint will hit, but it never dries. It just starts to like goop out of it. Like it falls out and then you have like a mess like all over. And you're like, dang, like that's the catch. Like imagine if that would happen, do you think people would be satisfied? Like, oh, I'll leave the car like that. I'll start showing it at shows like that on the table.
I don't know. I probably would really enjoy that, to be honest, because I don't like painting. Because it's really tough.
It gives birth to this whole new scene, right? just printing raw material.
It's like it's like opening Pandora's box. You have like everything you want in the box, and once you open it, you can't close it. It's I would probably really enjoy that, I think. But it's like painting like vinyl tires with enamel. It'd never dry. Or something that'd just be a goopy, crappy mess. But
Yeah.
like, I barely ever paint anything anyway, so I'd probably have the best time. I'd
Mhm.
probably use it as an excuse not to paint. Like, well, I can't paint it, so
Yeah.
you know. But
I think
I
I think that would be up there with like the people who like to just have their cars primered, right? And that's it. I mean, I'm one of
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah,
I have cars that are just primered, and I enjoy looking at them primered.
yeah, yeah.
Like I'm like, yo, this is pretty cool.
It's like it's a core skill of model building is the painting.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't think it would like catch on or be a big part of like model building, like shows and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
But you certainly wouldn't be able to judge it, because like paint is a part of the judging criteria of a model competition. Um,
True.
but but yeah, I'd like there's already kind of materials out there that you can't paint, like the flexible resin tires. You have to get the color right. You have to get it like not see through enough
Hmm.
because you can't paint it. It's squishy. It moves.
Yeah.
But and you never know what chemicals will react with what chemicals. It's cool to think about because you could have whatever item you want, but it's not really a model. It's kind of just like something you don't model build. It's just something you look at like a finished build. But yeah, no, that's interesting. Like I would probably for a little while be really gassed about that. I think I'm like, yes, finally, I don't have to paint it. That's not a thing I have to deal with. But you never know what's going to happen. Like they have flexible resin, and so it's only probably a matter of time before you can print in color um, in all the different parts. Right now, you'd have to empty the vat, tip another color in, clean it out, whatever.
Mhm.
But like, imagine if someone does that, the printers get good and quick enough where you just have like a tray of like vats of different colored resin, so you swap them out to do the different parts, and then you wouldn't have to paint a model car. But but as much as I suck at painting and I don't like it, it's kind of like it's like a gambler's fallacy. I spent all this money on paint. I'm gonna have to use it at some stage. So
Mhm.
and through that, I'll probably get a little bit better um,
Yeah.
at using it.
Do you ever
But
do you ever feel pressured to use it since it's just sitting there, like you have it, like you're afraid that it's gonna go bad?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like
Mm.
I've had spray cans that have kind of lost all their pressure after a while.
Oh
So like
shit.
I didn't use it. So like I just
Uh-huh.
have this, and I wasn't like thinning paints at that time. So it was just useless goop. But yeah, I've got like a lot of paints sitting over there that I really want to use. And like it goes back to that I've spent so much time with 3D stuff
Mhm.
that I've still been buying the paints. I just haven't been using them.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, for sure. Like I'm not sure how long these paints last, but I've
Yeah.
had them for a couple of years sitting there, and that's why I bought that disc bay mixer because
Uh-huh.
they've been sitting there for so long. I'm like, I'll be damned if I'm going to sit there and shake paint like for
Yeah,
30
yeah.
minutes every time I want to use it, because I've left it like sitting there.
Yeah,
But,
that's
but
funny.
yeah, no, it's definitely like something I want to do more of now that I'm like focusing more on less on like the digital stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like, what's like your typical day right now? Like when you feel when is when you feel most like motivated to either work on a build or work on a file? You know, is it in the morning or midday, or is this happening like late at night for you right now?
Um, I'm a bit of a night owl, so it's usually at night when things are nice and calm and quiet. Um, that I'll be in here like squirreling away and I can focus. Um, but yeah, mostly at night really. I kind of after like maybe a couple of cups of coffee, I'll be a bit jazzed up and ready to boogie. But yeah, mostly at night,
Yeah.
which doesn't help the painting at all.
Hmm. Yeah, because I always wonder like when's your time when you feel that it's always interesting just to hear everyone's take because some people are like they got a routine in the morning or in the midday or just late at night like they're putting in that work
Yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah. Late at night's probably like the best time because for me anyway, like I really enjoy it. It's so calm and quiet.
Mhm.
and there's like no lawnmowers going, there's no dogs barking their heads off, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
um and but yeah, that's like kind of like model time is kind of meditative, where I don't have to focus on anything else
Mhm.
but models, which is like really therapeutic these days.
Yeah, and like from what you've seen within like the last like 5 years with like the products, are they starting to become easier to find and to get in your country now versus like 5 years ago or so?
um I'm not really sure. Like 5 years ago, I was kind of like scale production. That was pretty easy to find. They have some like the seatbelts and stuff. Um, what are those distributors? They have the photo etch top, and it's like an aluminium like barrel of it.
The
Is it Detail
Detail
Master?
Master? Yeah, Detail
Yep,
Master.
yep. Those were like around a fair bit, but now it's kind of just exploded, and there's just so much more available.
Oh,
Like
nice.
the aftermarket is huge. Um, I suppose you would know. You run the
I
shop with all
mean,
the details stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, here
I was
specifically,
just
yeah,
wondering, like, I mean, I know you can order online, but if there was any like maybe shops or stores that are popping up more that have popped up within the last like 5 years in your area, or maybe an hour or 2 hours distance in the city.
not that I've really noticed. I don't think.
Mhm.
I know in my actual town they're big on the RC planes, so I think there's a shop for that. Um, but other than that, it's just like the regular old Toy World, which I don't think you guys have much of anymore, do they? Over there.
No, Toy World. I don't think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of Toy World, or I've seen one out here, like in my area.
yeah. That's usually like the main retailing place for kids.
Yeah.
Um, Aside from like dedicated hobby shops, which I haven't really seen that much of.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, like it's all online really nowadays. Um, Absolutely, with websites like BNA Model World,
Hmm.
they're kind of like huge, have everything. And Mighty Ape, I think, is the other one. There's a few big websites with like I don't think they have physical stores.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's mostly where like I would get stuff. Like detail parts here.
Yeah, that's cool though. I mean, I'm glad that you have access to getting all this stuff, because I always feel bad for either if it's like a state, a country, or even someone that just lives in a small town that doesn't have that access. They can't
Yeah,
get that stuff locally, and I always feel like, man, they're seeing what's going on online, and they see all these photos or videos of people's cars and projects like on this next level, and they want to be there, but they're limited because it's not available in their town. But thanks to the internet, obviously they can order it and all that. But I don't know, I think it would be kind of cool if they were able to experience that like store atmosphere, you know like
yeah. It is a lot
in
different,
their
like
area.
being able to go into a store and like actually see and hold the stuff and see it in like the third dimension and stuff.
Yeah, it's almost
Um,
like it's like a hangout. I look at it as like, something to get out of the motivate you to get you out of the house. Like you could be at home every day and everything, but then at the end of the day, like you go, you know what? Like I'm gonna go over here and spend an hour or two, like a hangout, and sometimes too, being in places like that, you end up meeting other people that are into the same thing, or you bump into some people, and you might spark a friendship. Who knows?
yeah,
But
for all the like opportunities social
mhm,
media like Instagram has as for like communication, it's not in person.
mhm.
There's it's You could get a lot more done in person, like meeting someone and speaking to them, than through social media and that sort of thing. It's like
Yeah,
comic book shops, where they do the tabletop gaming, and there's an
yeah.
area to do that, and it's just a really like nice chill vibe where you get to hang
Mhm.
out with new people for sure.
Yeah,
I
I
think
tripped.
like
I tripped out because I remember when I would see the dudes doing the gaming. Like if I would go to like a comic book store when they would open, to get whatever latest books were on the wall. And if later in the day I was like, man, I'm gonna just go back. I'm just sitting here at home not doing anything or whatever. I'm gonna I'm gonna go back. I think I missed an issue, you know. And you go back and you see like the crowd still there, and it's already like in the evening, and I'm like, fuck, like what are these fools doing, But they're so into what the game that they're playing and everything. But not only that, they're hanging out with their friends. It's just like they were looking forward to this day, like the weekend, just to do that and be there like all day. And I'm like, man, and like they're only living off of the snacks that they're buying there or that they brought, like some chips, some sodas. It's funny, but it's crazy how they do that. And I'm thinking like, man, I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Be in a comic book shop for like 8 hours, just snacking and like playing some board games. And I don't know, I always think about that too. Like, what if like having like, a physical store and on a weekend, invite people like a build day, have the table set up, kind of same layout, but for people to like work on their projects. And then what if one day it's like a special event where I invite like a guest to be like a speaker, and talk about, showcase their models, but then give some background behind that model, how they got it to that point, and just someone to speak up and be very vulnerable about, not be like, yo, like I did this, I killed it, I'm dope, check it out. Like, nah, no, I mean, I don't know. I think people are pretty humble, but it'd be kind of cool to hear those stories, And let's just say that guest that's there, let's say the theme is like he's gonna talk about weathering, and the heads that are into like they want to learn weathering, they're there. And then later, all right, the presentation's done. If you guys want to work on some stuff weathering, go for it at your own pace, whatever. But then you're also gonna have the opportunity that the speaker is gonna like walk around, and if you have any questions, like hit him up, as he's walking through. And I don't know, that can be kind of cool, like someone being like, hey, I'm trying to get it to look like this. What do you recommend I should do at this point? This is where I'm at right now with the build, and they actually have it there. So just to give some kind of guidance, like you could either do it like this, but if not, when you get home, do it like that or whatever. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I just like daydream about things like that I would want to see happen, And I don't know.
Well, when you kind of have your space, you could be like, the facilitator of that. It's one thing like to have all the tutorials online and everything, but it's so common where it's like it's cool, but it's like it's not that special. But if you can like get ready in the morning and go, I'm going to the weathering seminar today, could be like all excited and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like having that, especially after the last couple of years. I think like maybe we've gotten too used to just utilizing what's kind of online in our community, like for model building, and like we've kind of stepped away a little bit from like, the interpersonal in-person kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a good idea. They have over in the UAE with Matty is the not comic shop, the model shop that he goes to has build areas and has the separated places you can paint and all that sort of stuff. Can you imagine like doing like an overnight build in one of those places, and maybe a couple of people peter out and they just fall asleep on the floor in there.
Yeah, we'll have a car modeling sleepover. Dude, I still remember. I remember when I was a young kid, and I was going to karate, right? And this was back in Oxnard, and I remember, I think I was already like in my third year in going to classes and stuff, and I remember they had an event like a sleepover thing, and I was like, what's this, And basically, it was like it was gonna be like a Friday night, and I was probably like in like fourth grade or whatever. So they were like, but it's on the dope, like, it's like a sleepover thing but you were basically gonna sleep in the dojo in the
Yeah.
in the spot, so that made it even doper because you're like, oh, I'm usually here for only like 30 minutes or an hour session and I'm out. But this time you get here Friday night at like 5 p.m., free pizza, sodas, it's all candy, and then we're gonna watch karate movies like Karate Kid, like Ninja
That's awesome.
Turtles, like anything, Three Ninjas, and anything that was like PG-13. We weren't gonna watch like no Bruce Lee, like
Yeah.
American Ninja. I don't know, like we're just like all these movies, and then you spend the night, and then the next day in the morning, like your parents would pick you up. But and it was like all the students and like teachers and the admin, like they were like chaperoning, and like staying there or whatever. But I remember experiencing that as a kid and just being like, oh man, that was fun. It was a cool vibe. And but it's funny because like it's like you're sleeping there and you're like, man, I'm like in a dojo and fucking and it's at night and like the doors are locked. But then in the outside you're in a shopping center. So it's like the streets are like not that far, and you just hear like at 2 a.m, like police just racing down the street, chasing someone, and you're like, oh shit, this is real. Just trying to cover up, I don't know. It's kind of funny, but it'd be kind of fun though to do like, the model builders, like, all right, sleepover night, and then everybody that's like on Instagram, all the homies are all rolling up with their pajamas and shit. Like so so let's see who could hang. Let's see who could hang. Like we're gonna build models and nobody's going to sleep. We're gonna start building like right now at 8, and we're gonna do an all-nighter until we get the model done in the morning.
Oh god, yeah, I'd fall asleep so fast. I would just
That'd be
I'm
hard.
gonna drink all this coffee and sugar, and then I just crash.
That'd be like, yeah, that'd be tough. But I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to be able to
That
do
would be.
it.
I'll get my mum to ring up your mum and ask if you can come over for a sleepover, and
Yeah.
we'll just build models.
Right? Yeah, that's so crazy. I mean, I wonder if like right now, if nowadays, if like a parent would believe their kid, if their kid was like, oh, is it cool if I could stay over? We're gonna be doing models like all night. They're gonna be like, yeah, right. You're gonna like sneak out of the house.
They'd be kind of disappointed when you come home and you with a finished model. Like, you didn't even go out and like smash windows. Like, what are you doing, you nerd?
Yeah, no, I finished the model.
Cool. That'd be awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy right there. Well, hey, bro, it's been one hell of a fun episode that we did right now. This is 164. Any words, any shout outs, anything you want to say before we wrap this one up?
To anyone in the hobby, just do whatever the fuck you want. That's
there
it.
You go.
Have fun. That's it.
That's cool. I'm gonna get that.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you very much. It's been very fun.
A quote on it. That's gonna be the next Scale Rider shirt with a quote, and then
oh gee, hell yes, funny. Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you, Kasey. We'll have to do another follow up in the future for sure. I hope all you guys enjoyed this episode. This is 164. We did it through Zoom, so it might sound a little different, like the audio, but I mean, you can still hear us for sure. And then also look forward to the video that will come out later. We'll drop that one later. But thank you, Kasey. We're gonna be stepping out at this moment, but we'll keep in touch on the IG. And if you guys want to check out his work, make sure on Instagram, look him up, Slowly Models. He's on there, but I'll tag him up for sure. So, all right, man. You have a good day. It's already night for me. But you enjoy the rest of your day for sure.
You too. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
man.
See ya.
Peace out. Thank you. Late.